Action Comics 1098, Mark Waid writing with SKYLAR Partridge and PATRICIO DELPECHE on the art. So, I'm just going to get the big complaint out of the way first at the start of this issue, which I mostly enjoyed. I think it's another fun issue of what we've been doing with Action. And that is the art change, because at first it felt fine, because it's they go to the Kents to ask them about any details about the ship, which obviously the villain's stolen. And they start telling the story, and like often when you've got a second artist in a book, if you've got like a flashback sequence, the second artist does the flashback sequence, and that's okay. That's fine. It starts up. I don't like the art as much as the regular art, but that's okay. Different style for the flashback. I can live with it. However, it starts intercutting with the character still talking about the flashback in the present day in the new art style, before eventually reverting back to Partridge in the back chunk of the book. And that stuff looks so different from the regular art, and honestly, in some faces, looks so bad that it really annoyed me.
Yep, I agree. Because when it went to the flashback art, I was like, okay, this is interesting. Make it different from Partridge. And then it goes to Jean and Booster and Mary, and I'm just like, they're not part of the flashback. They're in the room.
Yeah.
Like I understand the splitting up by page count or whatever, but it just did not work for me.
No,
the art styles are too different.
It also felt like, for some reason, and maybe you could argue that they were. I'm looking. No, it didn't. So when they start telling the story, Mary, Jean, and Booster are all in their superhero outfits, and yet when it starts like cutting back to the group talking, and it happens quite quickly.
That's right.
It's just a few pages in. We get a few panels of like John and Martha telling the story, and they're in a different art style, which felt weird. But then it goes back to the flashbacks, and then it eventually comes back around to just all the characters talking about this, and you see them. And first, like, Mary is in her civilian clothes, Booster's in a t-shirt, Jean's turned into a human appearance, and I'm like, none of them. Why did they change halfway through the conversation? There's no reason for that.
No, that didn't even clock with me till right now. But you're right. I just went back and looked. I was like, yeah, they were their superhero uniforms. So even Clark, they got Clark too, because there's a cut in with his mom where he's like, "Oh, Mom, don't tell that part of the story," and he's Clark Kent. He's not Superboy.
Yeah, well, if you keep going, the page where you see Jean and human, Clark's behind him, and he's in his civilian clothes, he's got his glasses, and I have to say, that's actually the worst panel of this art for me, is the look in Clark's face. He looks like a Muppet.
Yeah. He looks like Beaker.
He looks like Beaker. Yeah. That's what he looks like.
Yeah.
So, I had to get that complaint out of the way. Once that's done, because it cuts to a scene in Clark's bedroom, which again, him and Mary are back in their superhero outfits. It's almost like the second artist did not get like the right instructions here or something. Or
no.
Yeah, it feels like a genuine mistake that they're all in their civilian clothes for only that artist section.
But we even get a thing where Clark changes, because we get a whoosh with Mary's hair, and then
That's right. He changes from his superhero outfit into his civilian clothes in this next scene, which makes no sense given the. Oh, that's so annoying.
Yep. Let me tell you, Big Sister Mary is one of my favorite things.
It's the best part of this book. Her teasing, the way he mentions whatever, and then she's like, oh yeah, you have to go to school. Well, Lana, like the way she like says her name out, and she's like, calm down, I'm not flirting with you, I'm going to big sister mode here. And he explains that she's mad at him because he had to ditch her during the whole science fair thing. And like, she's only got eyes for Superboy anyway, not Clark. And Mary gets this look in her face, really? Huh? Right? And this is what I was hoping was going to happen. I was hoping this was going to happen. Next day at school, Mary's there, and she's intentionally like, okay, where's Lana? And Lana's walking past all mad. She's been ice cold because Clark ditched her. And then she's like, wait a minute, who's this broad? And Mary's like, oh, hey, I'm a friend from Philadelphia, and Clark was just letting me tag along for the day. And she's like touching Clark's arm when she's talking to her, and like just kind of like, putting her hand under his arm and sort of holding on to him, and just the icy glare on Lana's face, the jealousy forming.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
It's so funny.
Also, when he tries to talk to her, he's like, hi, I'm sorry for what happened. I got sick from ice cream. And she goes to call him Mr. Kent, right? Because she's mad. And then that's when she looks over and sees Mary there. And then Mary even uses that. What did they say about the Mr. Kent part? Oh, Mr. Kent convinced the principal to let me shadow student for the day. And so I just love that Mary being a little bit petty to drive it home more. Brings up the fact that she's not even calling him by his full name, because she's mad. Wade is really good at this interpersonal teenage stuff.
And when Lana says, are we still good to study, on Thursday afternoon? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then Mary jumps in and says, yeah, if you can find the time later, sweetie. and the way Clark just bangs the back of his head against the lockers, and Mary's just lapping this up. She's like, oh, this is so funny. You're adorable at this age. And so good.
The colorist here too, making Clark's face blush red too throughout, is also, again, perfect.
Yeah. It's all so good. It's the highlight of the issue, honestly, which is not to say the rest of it's not good, but
no.
Hearing because most of the flashback is basically just the Kents explaining the finding of the ship. It's just the origin stuff again, honestly.
It's the pearls in the alley, but it's the spaceship in the cornfield.
Yeah. Martha was a natural born mother, but she couldn't have kids. She was so upset. Oh, and then one day you fell into a cornfield, and
there was a whole thing where I feel like Wade overcomplicated the origin by being like, oh, well, we'll have to put him into foster. Wait, but there's no foster people. You can have them anyways. And I was like, they could have just said, hey, normally we don't do this, but, found baby,
It's trying to...
It was real weird.
It's trying to deal with the real world technicality, right? Which is, people will ask questions if you suddenly have a child and no paperwork. So this is just the Kents need to officially have adopted him. So the way they do it, and this is you'd have to report if you found a baby, and obviously they won't find his natural parents because they don't exist on Earth, but you'd have to go through the process, and it's we've got foster parents who do this, right? Who are experienced. We're not going to just give them back to you. But they beg, they want to adopt him, blah, blah, blah. And basically, he just kind of hand waves, oh, and after a night of waiting, we got a phone call saying, yes, they could come home with us. But it does say that, baby Clark did spend at least a night in, some sort of, I don't know.
Facility,
somewhere. Which is interesting because I'm because normally a lot of origin stories will say that, as a baby, he would, lift up a crib or something, and I'm like, oh, it's a good job he didn't show any powers during that one night.
Yeah, because he's not infant by the time that he lands, but he is upper levels of toddler. So yeah, him destroying the facility, and that's why they gave them the call, right? They're like, you can have this weird kid.
Yeah,
it'll be better for us this way. So again, I get why they did that, because Silver Age or even Man of Steel version was that they found him in the winter, and because that the Kents were farmers, they lied that she was actually pregnant. And then when they come back into the spring, there's a baby. And I was just like, well, I guess this is a little bit better than that. Not by much, but...
Yeah, because there'd be no birth certificate. That would be a problem at some point for Clark in his life. He doesn't have a birth certificate, so... yeah, I mean... Hey, whatever. It goes back to the boosters talking to the Kents. So there's some okay little exchanges here about Jonathan and Martha being worried about Clark, he's making mistakes, but he's learning lessons from them. And Booster's like in the future, your son's the most grown up ever. I can't imagine him having to learn things. But I was like, okay, you're maybe, because there's also a moment as well where Jean kind of bends a rule a little bit, because they're kind of worried that someday someone's going to come and take her son from us, from wherever he's from, right? And he doesn't obviously explain that Krypton's destroyed. He doesn't say that his parents are dead or anything, because they have to learn all that the way they're going to learn it.
Right.
But he just says, look, no one's ever going to come and take him from you. I'm just going to tell you that.
He's yours.
Right? Yeah. It's never happening.
And I do like it because that rule break means something, right? It puts them at ease, right? And it kind of breaks the tension. It shows that Jean is trustworthy with all of that. So,
yeah. So basically, they just use the crystal from the ship, which gives the message about Krypton. Not that they can understand it yet, but it used to put baby Clark at ease to see all this stuff. They basically just reverse engineer that to trace where the ship is that was stolen, and it leads to a farmhouse somewhere else, I think in Smallville. They never really say it, I don't think. But Jean uses his thermal vision to see the Epoch's inside. They go down, and Jean pretends to be Superboy so that the kryptonite blast won't work.
Yep.
And then they all just fight him for a bit. That's an okay fight scene, nothing particularly special. But when Epoch says that he's going to murder Clark's parents, he gets mad and flies him up into space or into the sky, and rips open the armor, and it breaks the containment of his suit. Like something comes out of it, some red radiation. It looks a little bit like red UV light to me, just based on what happens next. Because Clark lands, or he's falling, and Mary has to catch him. Epoch disappears into time stream stuff, and Superboy's like, wait a minute, I can't fly. What happened to my powers? So to me, it feels like whatever's powering Epoch's suit is some kind of red sun tech or something that's maybe made him human for a bit. So I mean, that is fun, though, that he's going to have to deal with being a normal teenager for maybe an issue or two. I could see some hilarity from that.
So I was thinking timey-wimey stuff with the suit because it says he broke containment, but no. Now that I look back and you mention it, it is red. So it makes sense that it is more red, like radiation type.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if he's either using either some type of kryptonite or maybe a little mini red sun like Batman's had in his gloves in the past or something to power his suit.
Yeah, because when he's there, he's talking about that he's, Epoch has said that he's adjusted things. What's it right here? It says, of course, naturally, the ship is powered by solar energy from the world. I can work with that because I never killed a child before. So again, Mark Waid getting dark here. There was something in there that he had adjusted the energy to deal with Kryptonians. So
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, it was the thing. I was like, oh no, I thought maybe timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah. Regardless, whatever's in his suit is depowered Clark. I mean, that's the important details. So, I mean, I still quite enjoyed a lot of this issue. I will say, though, the extended flashback to finding the ship, both because it felt like a little bit okay, we don't have to. Could we just talk about, because it feels like tell us about the ship and we get the story of finding the ship, and I'm like, that's not really telling us about the ship. It's more
all you have
nothing
to do in there.
Yeah, skip straight to the crystal. There was a crystal in the ship. That's the only, you need one page of it. That's it.
Yeah.
Plus, the art for that section just being really different and
god-awful.
To my taste, bad. Frankly, I did not like how it looked.
Well, and even not even tasting. There's some bad panels in there as well.
Yeah. That Clark Beaker panel is just wildly bad.
I will say, I think my favorite panel is when Clark at the end tries to fly, and Patrick just draws his determination face going up, and everyone just standing around staring at him.
Well, it's that moment that every kid has where they just give it a try once just to see. Maybe I'm lucky. Maybe I'm the one who can fly.
Kind of just the pose with him there, and you can see Booster and John and Mary behind him, and it's just it's so funny. So all the Partridge art I feel is top notch. So it definitely affects the rating in a weird way.
It's just a shame that flashback is extended as it is, and then the fact that Partridge isn't doing the art and the fact that there's a weird mistake where they've all changed to the civilian clothes, and it even I didn't even think about the fact that you pointed out, which is that the very next scene has Superboy change into his civilian clothes in the scene is just wild. So all that drags it down a little bit, unfortunately, but. The high school stuff and the endings, I think got good potential in it. So, what are you giving Action Comics 1098?
I'm gonna give this a tentative 7, mostly because of the art.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with the 7. I think if it was all as good as the high school stuff and what the endings teasing, it would easily be an 8.5 or something like that. But the art and the extended flashback just has to drag it down a bit, sadly.